Hello everyone. This week we're talking about adding rational numbers, which I am going to break down into two separate categories, adding decimals and adding fractions. So rational numbers also includes whole numbers and integers, but this week I'm going to just focus on adding decimals and adding fractions. So this video is about adding decimals. So if we've got two decimals, the first thing that you want to look at is, okay, are they both positive? Are they both negative? Or is one positive and one negative? Both of these are positive, which is really helpful. And when you're adding decimals, you just need to line up the decimal point and add as you would any other number. So I'm going to just line up the decimal point, 5 and 82 hundredths. And then here's my decimal point, and I'm going to make sure plus 401 thousandths. And so the key thing here is to remember that you have to add each place value. So we have nothing in the thousandths place on top. It's kind of like having a 0. So 0 plus 1 is 1. 2 hundredths plus 0 hundredths is 2 hundredths. 8 tenths plus 4 tenths is 12 tenths. But 12 tenths makes a whole. So I'm going to move that one whole over there. 1 whole plus 5 whole is 6 whole. And that is our answer for this problem. Okay. So for our next problem, again, we're going to want to look at if they're two positive, two negative, or one positive and one negative. So I see here that one of these is positive and one of these is negative. There's negative 4 and 61 hundredths plus positive 3 tenths. So when you're and they have different signs, what you're thinking about is, well, I could also write this as 3 tenths plus negative 4 and 61 hundredths. Either one of those is the same, which is the same as 3 tenths minus 4 and 61 hundredths. You don't have to rewrite it like that. It just might help you understand what it's asking. But basically, we've got negatives and positives, and we've got to figure out, okay, if 3 tenths are positive, that takes out 3 tenths of the negatives, so we have to figure out how many negatives are left. So the negatives win in this situation. They win because there's more negatives than there are positive. So we have to figure out how many do those negatives win by. So what you're going to actually do is you're going to write 4 and 61 hundredths minus 3 tenths, because what you want to figure out is how many those negatives win by, that negative 4 and 61 hundredths win by. So 1 hundredth minus 0 hundredths is 1 hundredth, 6 tenths minus 3 tenths is 3 tenths, put our decimal point, and 4 minus 0 is 4. So we get 4 and 31 hundredths, but that's not our answer. That is how much the negatives won by. So here's our negatives. That is how much the negatives won by when you combine the negatives and the positives. So we have to remember to make this negative because the negatives won by negative 4 and 31 hundredths. Okay, so on this problem, we have to again look at negatives, positives, how many of each. So both of these are negative. So negative 79 hundredths plus negative 1 and 4 tenths, that's like if you have a number line that looks like this, you're starting, and here's you're starting at a negative already, at the negative 79 hundredths, but then you're adding another negative. You're jumping more negative. So you've got to figure out where you get to if you go negative 79 hundredths and negative 1 and 4 tenths. So you're actually going to add together these negatives. So 0 and 79 hundredths plus 1 and 4 tenths. Remember to line up that decimal point. 9 hundredths plus 0 hundredths is 9 hundredths. 7 tenths plus 4 tenths is 11 tenths, but 11 tenths makes a whole. So we move that whole over there. 1 plus 0 plus 1 is 2, and we get, that does not look nice, we get 2 and 1900ths. But you have to remember that all of these were negatives, so it's actually going to be negative 2 and 1900ths for this answer. Okay. That's it for adding decimals. Make sure you watch the other video this week for adding fractions so that when you complete the assignment on big ideas, you are able to add both fractions and decimals.